Hey there, I'm Jill Allen, and this is Find Your Fierce, the show designed for women to discover your fierce, unlock an unstoppable mindset, build unbreakable courage, and completely transform how you show up every single day. Each week, I will bring ideas, methods, and strategies that will inspire you to step into your greatness and live life on purpose. Let's be fit, fierce, and unstoppable. Hey there, gang. Welcome back to Find Your Fierce. I'm Jill Allen, and I'm super stoked to have you here with us for episode 183. If you're new to the show or just tuning in to our Hike, Live, Explore series, no worries. We're only on episode 3, so perfect timing. And today we're going to continue our journey with my friend Ivey, sharing lots of amazing stories about life on the trail, everyday experiences, and the ups and downs that we all face. And let me tell you guys, this series is all about perseverance, and I guarantee it'll hit home for you too. But before we dive right in, let's catch up for a second. It's really awesome just to have you here, spending time with you each week. And I wanted to give you a couple of quick updates. First of all, Set Fire is still available on Amazon. So if you haven't picked up a copy yet, now is the perfect time to do it. Trust me, it'll ignite a spark of courage in you so that you can live your life to the fullest. But that's not all. I'm really excited to announce that the Fall Trailblazer Challenge kicked off on October 1st, and you can still join us. The challenge is all about getting outside, unplugging, exploring the beauty of nature. The goal is to hike a total of 30, 40, or 50 miles on the trails in the month of October, and you get to pick the miles. And to make it even more fun, challenge yourself to visit at least 2 new locations, whether you're a beginner or a seasoned hiker. The Trailblazer Challenge is the perfect way to get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. So lace up your hiking boots and let's hit the trails together. Registration is open at jillallencoaching.com. So are you ready? I know I am. So let's dive in. I mentioned that we have a special guest. Ivey is here with us. Ivey is a thru hiker, a trail runner, a writer, and a business owner. And she is also a survivor of sexual assault and a recovering alcoholic and addict. And we're going to dive into that a little bit here today. So thankful that she's going to be sharing her heart. But back in 2017, Ivey thru hiked the Appalachian Trail. And we've talked about that, guys, right? Georgia to Maine. And it was her first major backpacking trip over the course of 5 months. And it led to so many more adventures, including solo thru hikes of Vermont's Long Trail, the Colorado Trail, the Arizona Trail, and it led her to the founding of her guiding company, She Treks. And she created, and I love it, I love the She Treks mission because it is to empower more women to get out on the trail. And I can't wait to dive into her company's mission a bit more today. And what I love about Ivey is that she's passionate about embracing fear and discomfort in order to get to know herself better. And she believes that it is one of the most healing parts of the outdoors and the strength and the personal growth that comes from pushing her boundaries in the mountains. And I'm going to quit talking now because I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this interview for a couple of weeks now, and I'm going to allow her to share more. Ivey, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, you just got back from a trip yourself.
Yes.
A little bit about that.
Yeah, so I went to Big Sky, Montana with my boyfriend. This is our second year doing this trip. We both ran the Rut, which is a trail race. They have a couple different links. We do the vertical race and then the 28K. Those are our 2 races that we usually do. And I was really happy with how it went. I'm not a fast runner. I'm definitely more of a hiker, but I was able to take an hour and a half off my 28K time, which felt pretty huge.
Yes.
So yeah, and then we headed down. Yeah.
I was keeping up with that race on Instagram. Run the Rut, right?
Yep, totally.
Oh, no.
It's pretty brutal. Like at one point, climbing up Lone Peak for the VK, they had to modify it a little bit this year, so you didn't go quite all the way to the top because they're doing construction up there. But there was I looked down on Bone Crusher is the name of the ridge going up, and there was blood, like someone's nose had been bleeding. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So, what fun. Was that your first time, or you said you did it every?
This is my second time. Last summer was our first summer going up there. He's been multiple times. He's the one who got me into that race, but yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Because I know that's a huge challenge. Yeah.
It felt like a big accomplishment. Just to finish it 2 years in a row is exciting. So
oh, that's awesome. So you just got back and you're in Colorado.
I am. Yep. I live in Crested Butte, which is near Gunnison. It's kind of like not a place that's on the way to anywhere. You have to like decide to go to Crested Butte and like drive all the way up the valley to get here. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
what made you land there?
In 2020, that summer, it was kind of the COVID summer, I had the opportunity to hike the Colorado Trail. So I drove out to Colorado from Maryland, where I'm from, with most of my belongings in my car because I had a feeling I wanted to relocate out west. I'd been wanting to do that for a while, and that was just the opportunity. COVID kind of created that opportunity for me. And so I drove out, hiked the trail. I actually met my boyfriend's parents. I did not know him at the time, but they were through hiking the Colorado Trail.
Okay.
And they like casually mentioned that they had a son, and I was like, oh, cool, but I'm hiking. Like I'm just like focused on hiking right now. But I ended up running into him. He came out to resupply them on Cottonwood Pass. We met and chatted a little. I kept hiking. But at the end of the trail, he reached out and was like, if you want to, come out to Crested Butte and just see what it's like out here, we can do some hikes and some runs. And then I just never left. So
It is an awesome story.
yeah,
How it all works out.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you always been an avid hiker, or what got you on the trails?
So in 2016, I was living in Asheville, North Carolina, and I was kind of at like a weird low in my life. I was pretty depressed. I've always kind of struggled with depression and anxiety. I didn't really know what was next for me. I was just working in restaurants, so I didn't have any like super highly committing career that I was going to be leaving. But a friend mentioned that she had hiked the Appalachian Trail when she was depressed and that it really helped. And I was like, well, if she can do it, like I can do it. I had only been on like a handful of like weekend overnight backpacking trips. I didn't own hardly any of my gear. I ended up borrowing it from people or getting hand-me-downs. I didn't know what I was doing. I like started out with an entire roll of duct tape and like a golf umbrella and like a summer sausage and was like, I'm gonna make it to hot springs. Like, let's go. Um,
Gosh.
and it was like a steep learning curve, but the other hikers out there like really were excited to help and kind of give me tips, and I needed them. So that was kind of my intro into backpacking officially, was the AT. And I started out with my dog as well. Her name's Jill.
Oh,
Um,
gosh. Okay. Well, that's awesome. You're like, oh, you didn't
yeah.
want to say that, did you? So
But
love it.
yeah, and she did the first 500 miles with me, and then it kind of became clear that it was a lot for her. She actually lives now in Maryland. That's where she kind of has made her little home with my parents. They live much more stable lives than I do, with me always leaving to hike. So I
Yeah,
get to see her when I visit, and it's good. She's happy there. So
I love it. This story just keeps getting better and better. I mean, your anxiety. And I mean, like what I'm finding, like talking to, people and just the healing that comes from being out on the trails. I'm finding more and more that people recover or find peace or something, that aha moment out on the trails. I mean, the reflection time, the clarity that comes with all of that. I mean, was that your ultimate goal? Or, I mean, just were you running away from anything? Or, I mean, just,
yeah, kind of everything. So I was still pretty active in my alcoholism when I left for the AT. That had kind of begun, I guess, when I was around 18 is when I started drinking, just through like a series of events. It had kind of snowballed, and I felt like I needed to make a change before I left for the trail. I was like, I really should get sober, but I didn't really know how to do it. I didn't have a community to support me. And so the trail was kind of just like a last ditch effort. Like maybe I'll find something out there that'll give me like a reason to get sober. And I was definitely looking forward to the physical challenge, like time to think, which you have a lot of when you're just walking for days and days, for months. And so I think there was a part of me that knew that this would be a good opportunity to make a change, but the like forefront of my brain probably wasn't thinking that. It was like, oh, this will be a party. Like I'm going to meet people. I'm going to get to like do this crazy thing. And that's kind of how I treated it. Like while I was out there, a lot happened while I was on the trail. I definitely think things got a little worse for me before they started getting better. But by the time I got to Katahdin, the final mountain where the trail ends, I realized like I had found this amazing thing on the trail. I like was able to become more independent, like trust myself to get myself from point A to point B, to like set up my tent at night, to feed myself, all this stuff. These like little goals that you get to like tick off every day that are really satisfying. And I didn't want to lose that. And so I think like while I was standing on Katahdin, I was like, something has to change. Like I cannot keep living this way. Like I found something really amazing. I have to keep it. And so my first effort at getting sober happened about like 10 days after I got off Katahdin, something like that, like a week to 10 days. And it didn't stick. I stayed sober for like 6 months, but I moved back to Asheville, was around the same people that I'd been with before, and I just kind of backslid. So it wasn't until November 17th of 2018 that I actually like recommitted to sobriety, and I've been able to stay sober since then. And it just took a total like restructuring of my life. But I think hiking the AT was like, it gave me like the incentive to like start thinking about a real change. Like it's a process. I think getting sober is not this like smooth one day you just decide. It's like a commitment every day. So
Mhm. So you're coming up 5 years?
yeah, it'll be 5 years this November.
That's awesome. Like, that's huge. Yeah, it's just, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm getting tears in my eyes. And I know that there's so much out there for people. And I know people struggle with this. Like, it's the drug that is accepted. Um,
Definitely. So available. And
yeah,
it's the culture around it too, just that that's how people fill their time. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, like remaining sober. It was just like filling all of the gaps that I used to spend that time drinking and partying and like being social, like in the dark. And
mhm.
now I like go to bed at like 9 and I wake up early and I'm like running and working. And like, I just have like a totally different friend group, people that are really focused on their sport. And I think meeting my boyfriend, Logan, was huge because he is an amazing athlete, super dedicated and focused. He's on the US ski mountaineering team, an amazing runner. And it just was really inspiring meeting him at that point when I'd been sober for almost 2 years. I was like, oh, wow, like I can really like step into this more athletic version of myself and like push myself. And I have this amazing support system. So that was a big part of it too.
Wow. Well, talk about a flip. I mean, the
Yeah.
catalyst of you realizing that you can live a different life. And it came down to that choice. Well, congratulations on almost 5 years. I mean,
Thank you.
how did that like play a part? I mean, there's a healing process that I know that you are probably, it's ongoing for you. Are you willing to talk a little bit about your sexual assault and the comeback from that? Or,
Definitely. Yeah. So that happened. I started college a semester late. I had been horseback riding competitively, wanted to explore that before I started school. So I started the spring semester at the University of Maryland, and that was in, I guess, like January of 2012, because I graduated high school in 2011. I always have to like think back
yeah.
for the years. And so I was in school for a semester, started the next semester, and it was that next winter. I had kind of fallen in with a group of friends who were just, it was a every woman for herself. I don't know how else to describe it. You know, they were like huge partiers. I really liked hanging out with them because they made me feel less bad about my partying. Like they were so much more extreme than I was. I was like, oh, I don't really have a problem. Like these people, you know, they're so much more intense than I am. And I just went to like, it was supposed to just be like a gathering of friends. I didn't know anybody except for my two girlfriends at the party. And it was, there were probably like 10 of us at that house. And definitely like nobody had each other's backs. Like I remember having 2 beers and then that's it. You know, like everything else is a blur, but I do remember what happened to me. And I think like for a year after that, I didn't want to accept that I had been raped. I didn't talk about that night with anybody except my roommate in college. And like when it finally hit me what had happened, it was like sitting in a sociology lecture at the university. The teacher was talking about victim blaming and rape culture. And it just made me realize like that is what happened to me. Like the friends that I was with that I told the next morning, this is what happened. They were like, well, you probably asked for it. You were really drunk, like verbatim. And I think a lot of women get told that. And so realizing that that's what happened and that I had been through this like traumatic event that I had kind of blocked out kind of made me like lash out a bit. Like I was really angry. I drank more. I partied harder. Like I started doing like taking party drugs. I hung out with like increasingly like wilder friends because it just again made me feel like less of a problem and felt really lost. I did see a therapist in college briefly, but I don't think I was really ready to like unpack most of what I'd been through. And I had been dating people who were not maybe the healthiest for me. There was definitely some like verbal and emotional abuse that happened. And I just took it because I felt like that's what I deserved. And I think even though I knew that I had been assaulted, it still felt like it was somehow my fault. Like the life I'd been living wasn't like clean enough, you know, or like polished enough. And that's why it happened. And I think even today, that's something that still like bubbles up every now and then. But hiking, like post Appalachian Trail, when I started to get really serious about my hiking and was sober, it's like really every time I go out on the trail, it just provides this opportunity to like have the space to think about this stuff that's like so huge, all these events that happen in my life that like there doesn't seem to be enough space for in my day-to-day life when I'm like sitting at a desk working, or, you know, like when you're out on the trail and you're just walking for 12 hours, the brain just kind of unpacks what it wants to. Sometimes I don't think about anything. And then other times I get stuck in like a really negative loop and I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like, I don't want to keep rehashing this event. But eventually everything gets like really quiet. And I usually have some like really amazing realizations. I usually cry. Like I'm out there hiking and crying. And most of the trails I hike, there's not a lot of people because I hike at weird times of the year. And I feel like I'm alone, but not alone. Like I feel like I'm finding my place in the world and how I fit. There's something that people say in AA, which I definitely like utilized AA, especially in the beginning of my sobriety, that like it's all about becoming like right sized. And I feel like when I'm out in the mountains, like I am totally aware of how small I am and like what a small part I play in this world. And it's comforting. Like it's great to not be like feeling so self-important, like everything I do matters so much. It's like, no, I'm actually this like really tiny piece of this like gigantic puzzle. And the weight of the world does not rest on me. Like I can just walk.
You've come a long way. In terms of when you're hiking, I know you said that it's a choice every single day and you go back. I mean, it's not just a one and done. Like you might rehash some of the things.
Totally.
I think that's
Yeah.
what happens. Like when you talk to people, they feel like they can never go back or they're a failure, you know, just the shame. It's not over. It's a commitment every day.
Yeah. And that wave of shame sucks. Like it is the worst. And it's the worst experiencing that when you're alone and you have no distractions. And I think I definitely had used like alcohol, drugs, and people as distractions. Like they were my coping tools. And so even today, when I have no desire to have a drink at all, which I'm really grateful for, there's still this like itch to like distract myself when I'm in an uncomfortable feeling. And I think doing so much alone, it really creates an opportunity to feel super uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
out there, you really just have to sit with it. I mean, you can distract yourself with like a podcast or an audiobook, but I don't even really hike with headphones.
Mm.
I did for the first time a week and a half ago on a hike. It was a pretty tough hike, and I'd kind of allowed myself that. I was like, okay, if you need to listen to music, like you can listen to music on this hike. It's going to be really hard. But prior to that, like on through hikes, I didn't ever listen to music. I just tried to keep my ears like free to hear
Mm.
the nature sounds and then my brain free to think about whatever I needed to process. So,
Yeah. To be right there in the moment, to be
yeah,
and not distracted, as you said. Yeah.
totally.
So you fell in love with this life, okay, this new life of yours, and you found a way to help other people. I mean, life's all about serving others and building other people up, and that's exactly what you do. And so tell us a little bit about that and how you took that love to help
Totally.
others.
So I had been keeping a blog for a long time about my hikes, pretty much since the AT, so back in 2017. And then it kind of occurred to me at some point after the Appalachian Trail, like I could maybe do more than just write about my adventures. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I could take people out and actually like show them this amazing life on trail? And so I wasn't ready at that time. I still had a lot of like cleaning up to do with my life and just like putting myself back together and getting more serious. And then I got really involved in my own hiking. I did some Knowles courses as a student. I felt like I needed to do that before I could guide people. I got my wilderness first responder certification. I became a Leave No Trace master educator. I kind of had all the pieces at that point, and that was in 2019 and 2020. And then I moved to Colorado after my Colorado trail hike and promptly tore my ACL in January of 21. So that created a lot of time. All of a sudden, I was like on crutches, recovering from surgery, and I was in a dark place. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this time to just start building a foundation for my business, this business I've wanted to start for years, and just see if it's even feasible for me, figure out like what would be required. So I started looking into like getting permits in the wilderness areas around Crested Butte. That's a really complicated process I have found. And so that was like the first step, you know, like working with an attorney to get all my papers and articles of organization written and just like all that stuff. And then once I had kind of done all of the groundwork, I was like really stoked to just start guiding. And I think it has been, that is like honestly the most rewarding thing. It's still a really new company. I've only guided a couple groups, but working with people out in the mountains in challenging situations and just like watching groups of friends who maybe were like close before, but like really just bonding in the mountains over the challenges and like laughing about blisters and laughing about having to like poop in the woods. And it's just like
Yeah.
really amazing to like watch people do that and overcome and struggle. And like my trips are not easy. I don't do like the easy, like, oh, we'll hike 3 miles in and camp and then hike out. It's like, no, we hike like 8 miles a day and go from point to point and we go over passes and it's tough. And it's amazing that people who think maybe they can't do that, they go out on a trip with me and then they finish it and they're like, holy crap, like that was huge. Like, and I did that, I'm capable of more than I thought. So
Yeah, that is the best part. And you become best friends,
yeah,
really, when you're out there relying on each other for everything.
totally.
Yeah. What are some funny stories? Because I mean, I can think of some just being out on the trail, like the falling. Do you fall? Because
Oh
I
yeah,
fell the other day and I'm like, I hit hard.
absolutely. And mine is always because I wear a visor or like a build hat. This was more so like hiking the long trail in Vermont and the AT. Like there's a lot of like downed trees that aren't like fully downed, they're like forehead height for me somehow. And I don't ever see them coming because I'm like looking at the ground, like hiking really fast. And I will like ream my forehead into these. And it's awful. I mean, like I'll hit them so hard that I will knock my feet right out from under me and like be sitting in the middle of the trail. Like, do I have a concussion? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And you're like, how did
Yeah.
you see that? But I
Yeah.
get it.
Totally. And then just realizing like I get so frustrated when that happens and I'm like yelling at the tree and I'm like, that is so dumb. Like that's on me. Like I did that, like I can't be mad at this tree. Like,
Yeah. These are the
so,
things that people need to like know when they are starting to go out and hit the trail. Like where do we begin? What's normal, what's not?
yeah.
And blisters are normal. You're gonna fall,
Yeah.
you trip on, like roll back on an acorn. I mean, it's just
Yeah. It's like not supposed to be easy. And I think if I could give people like one piece of like, I don't know if that's wisdom or advice, but just like it's not supposed to be easy. And anytime I'm going out on a new adventure, I like have to keep that in my head as like a mantra because I get really frustrated when things don't just like work out. And I don't know why I go into activities with that expectation. Like this is supposed to just come to me naturally. Like, no, like the other couple weeks ago, I went out on the collegiate loop, and that's a loop in the Sawatch Mountains in Colorado. It combines like a leg of the Colorado Trail and the Continental Divide Trail in this like nice oval through the collegiate peaks. And it's like 164 miles long. There's like 37,000 feet of elevation gain. And I had this crazy goal of doing it in under 4 days. And so I was like, all right, this is going to be great. I've prepared for this. I've trained all summer. It's going to be awesome. And then, like hard stuff happens. Like I'm hiking in the dark a ton to achieve this, like about 40 miles a day, a little more. And I get to this point, I'm coming downhill. My feet are killing me because I've been walking on a bunch of rocks forever. And a bug flies into my headlamp and starts like hitting me in the face. It's just like a moth. It's confused. And I just like lose it. Like I hadn't lost it the whole trip. And I was like, this is so hard. Why is this so hard? And then I'm like, oh my God, it's supposed to be hard. Like this is supposed to be hard. And I knew that coming into it, like if I can just accept that, then everything else will come and I'll be able to get through this. But when you think something's going to be easy and it's not, it kind of makes it suck.
well, and the thing of it is we can do hard things. I mean, this is like, I mean, I know it's so cliche, but life on the trail is so similar to everyday life, whether it's
Yeah.
with families and business and careers and I mean, things that are hard, the peaks, the valleys, I mean, all the things. But when you get to that top, I mean, when you get to the pass or the peak of the
Yeah.
mountain, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so worth it.
Yes.
I
And I
know.
think if it was easy, would it feel worth it? Like, yeah, I wonder all the time. So,
Oh, this is so good. So I know you probably have something coming up. I mean, what is on like your schedule?
the next like really big thing that I have is over the winter. I decided I wanted to kind of take a break from the Crested Butte winter. We live at 9,000 feet and get a ton of snow. And I'm still learning how to do snow sports. So I am going to go to New Zealand and hike Te Araroa, which is their long trail. And it goes from Cape Reinga on the North Island, the tip of the North Island, all the way to Bluff at the tip of the South Island. There's like a canoeing section. There might be some road walks. but it should be a really epic adventure. I'm
How long
stoked,
is
and I am
that?
going alone. I'm sorry?
How long is that?
That's 1,800 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it'll be about 3 months is kind of what I'm anticipating. I'll probably stay in New Zealand for 4 and just explore a little bit afterwards. But yeah, it'll be my first like really long trail since the Appalachian Trail because I've done a couple like shorter ones since then, but I'm excited to walk for multiple months for sure.
Wow. This is just a random off the cuff question. Like, do you let people know that you're out there alone? I mean, do you feel safe? Like,
Yeah. So I use an InReach. They're made by Garmin. And so you can send like tracking points to a map share. So like my family likes to check the map share and see where I am. I always like do a password protected map share and just give it to like family members and like close friends just because I don't want like everyone in the world to know where I am. So I have that. There's like an SOS feature on the Garmin. I've never had to use that and hopefully never will. But as like a last resort, there is that. And then I keep my blog up to date while I'm hiking. I try to kind of every time I get to like a new section of trail, like, post a blurb about like what I've done, share some pictures. I really like to do that because I know like it's fun for me just to look back on those. And then I hope maybe it'll benefit somebody else like planning a similar hike. But yeah, and I think the Garmin is kind of the crucial bit there. Just being able to text because you can send messages from it. So yeah, people always kind of know that I'm alive and well and
yeah, they see it.
moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I know you definitely probably inspired someone to just get out there. I mean, no excuses. It's if we want our life to change,
Yeah.
then we can pivot and take a different path.
And
So,
like with that, I think something recently, especially I've been thinking a lot about, like I feel really privileged. I have like a lot of opportunity in my life and I've encountered a lot of people that have inspired me, which has made it like really easy to change in a lot of ways, having that like support system. And I think if you do not have that support system in place or people to look to who have made similar changes, it could be really hard, like way harder than what I went through to like make those changes. But I think like finding a community and AA was like huge for me. That was a really good community and that's available to anybody. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
wow, it's so good. Where can people follow you, find you, your website, all the things? Because I know they're definitely going to want
Totally.
to.
So my personal Instagram is shetreks.me. And then my business Instagram is shetreks.co. I tried to keep it really simple. And my website is also shetreks.co. So keeps it pretty straightforward. Couldn't get that .com. Somebody was holding it
Oh,
hostage.
yeah, yeah, they do. They
They
really do.
do.
Um,
So
awesome. No, we'll definitely share those links out with the gang. And for that, last minute, where is the one place your favorite destination or your favorite trail so far?
I honestly think my favorite experience was probably also one of the hardest. It was through hiking the Arizona Trail in November and December of 2021. I did that in like 35 days. And that's a weird time to hike it. It's pretty late. So I only saw like 2 other through hikers the whole time. And it was super lonely. But I think I learned a lot about myself. Yeah, I mean, it was tough, but beautiful.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
area. I love it all out there. So Colorado is one that my husband and I we both agreed on, as in like, okay,
Yes.
this is a state that is just has everything. It's just
It's amazing. And there are so many like women trail runners, women hikers. Like I saw more women hiking alone on the Colorado Trail than I have like on any other trail that I've hiked so far, which was really inspiring. It was cool to come to a state and be like, whoa, like I'm not an anomaly here. Like there's a ton of women doing this. Like that's really amazing.
well, yeah,
So
the activity level out there in that state.
yeah.
Just, I know sometimes in our hometown we always talk about like when you see somebody on the bike path, it was just like, oh, good, that.
Yeah.
But when you go to a state like Colorado,
Yeah.
and they live their life around that area, it's just pretty special.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for being here. We'll get those links out. I know we're cheering you on, uh,
Thank you.
endeavors and and then the takeoff of She Treks. And so it's good. It's good.
Thank you so much.
Before we wrap this up, I've got to say there's something truly magical about getting outside, unplugging, and spending time in nature. It's a chance to unleash your inner adventure and slow down a little bit in this fast-paced world. And what better way to do that by joining us in the Fall Trailblazer Challenge started on October 1st. You can make today your day one. You definitely don't want to miss out on this one-of-a-kind experience. Head on over to JillAllenCoaching.com And if you're looking for even more fire in your day, there's plenty to choose from. You can join our Just Breathe Facebook group. Come along with us on the adventure of a lifetime in Patagonia in March 2024. We'll be taking a 5-day trek through Torres del Paine, the #1 national park in the world, and the crown jewel of Patagonia. And there's only a few spots left, so be sure to check out jillallencoaching.com and get in on the action. Make sure to tune in next time as we continue to add some serious fire to your day with Hike, Live, Explore series. We've got some more stories to share, and another special guest will be joining us to inspire you to make a shift in your life and unplug from the daily grind. I can't wait for our next chat. Thanks so much for being here today. I truly hope we were able to fill your heart with joy. Before you go, I'd love if you could let us know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe to the show, share the episode link on your social media if you found it inspiring, and don't forget to leave us a review. It really, really helps. We all know someone that could use a little extra encouragement, so let's spread the love. Until next time, remember to be fit, be fierce, be unstoppable. See ya.